Hey everybody, it is Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. And I've been thinking about this question Michael Bancroft posed on his stream last night, and it was, "What is the end game?" And essentially, it's what is the point? What is the goal? Ultimately, what do you want to do with the comic book industry, the new comic book industry that we're all building, that we're all working toward? What exactly is it? What does it look like? And I think I know at least part of the answer to that question, not all of it. So I'd love to hear what you all have to say about it. It's funny because I got a question again. It's the same question I get all the time, but this time it was very straightforward, which I actually appreciated. And it was an email, and right in the title of the email it said, "How did you get your comic books funded?" That was it. And then there were obviously a few questions in the email, but essentially that's all I needed. How did you do it? And my response was basically that that's a really big question to ask, and I don't think I can explain everything as it ought to be explained. But essentially, you've got to be making content and give readers slash backers some assurance that you're going to make a good book and that you're going to get it to them, basically. You have to get enough people to trust you. However you can do that, YouTube has been invaluable for me. Mailing lists have been huge, very, very valuable. And I'm sure there are other ways, but that's all I have to, put my word behind. So beyond that, I got thinking a little bit about how some of the critics of crowdfunding will say crowdfunding is not sustainable. It is a means to an end. You are to use crowdfunding to start something new, and then you're off on your own. It's just to launch a business and then you move along. And clearly, by looking at bigger companies, comic companies, and other companies that are using crowdfunding, there's clearly something else there other than it being just a startup mechanism and then you move on. So, crowdfunding, is it sustainable? I'm going to say that it is actually more sustainable than the current direct market model. Part of the reason why people have this misconception is because comic creators don't really talk about the numbers very often. It's amazing how transparent everybody is when it comes to crowdfunding. And some of that could be the nature of crowdfunding in that you see the dollar amount right at the top. You know how much a campaign is raising. And so you can't you can't really be mysterious about it. On the other hand, when it comes to the direct market, you're not seeing that a creative team, most creative teams, especially if they're independent comics, even if they're publishing through Image Comics, most of the time they're putting their own money into producing a comic book series. That means several issues, not just one issue, several issues, all before they even know if it's going to make any money. Then they pay for printing, or in Image's case, I guess Image might pay for printing. The book goes to print, it goes to Diamond or whatever other distributors they're using these days, and comic book shops can or may not order the book and sell it or not sell it to customers through comic book shops. And most creators are saddened to find that not only did they not make a profit, they didn't even break even. They didn't even come close to breaking even. So what have they done? They've dug themselves a financial pit that they now live in. They have a number of issues that they have already completed and paid for that it feels like a crime not to get printed and to ship out and hope that your luck turns around. That's how the comic book industry works. That's how it works for most creators, especially independent and anybody that owns their own IP, unless you're one of the relatively few lucky ones that can make an awful lot of money through that established system. Okay. Is that sustainable? I would argue that no, it is not sustainable. And I think there's a lot of evidence that bears that out. Unless, of course, you're one of the superstars in the system or you are Marvel and DC. And even then, many of their books aren't making money enough to justify continuing. Okay. So crowdfunding. I think that crowdfunding is part of the way forward, but there are a few things that need to be corrected with crowdfunding. Downcast 3 is the closest I have come yet to what I believe is a more sustainable model. Now you're going to look at my campaign. You're just going to say, what, you're on day 3 of this campaign? 4? What day is it? I don't know. And you have $17,000. That's not enough. But I tell you, it is enough. It's enough to assure me that I can continue selling this to make it happen. It's not enough for me to get paid, but it's enough to produce it. That's where we're at right now as far as this book goes. So I'm confident that people will support it. I hope you all will. And, down the line, I'll be able to get paid and be able to help finance more books. Essentially, that's the goal. So what's the problem then with crowdfunding? I think it comes down to how much of the book you're able to finish ahead of time, so that backers don't have to wait, so they don't have to wonder if or when you're going to get the book ready and ship it out to them. I think that's really where crowdfunding has had its biggest hurdle, where the unsustainable section of the model is. Beyond that, it's a fantastic tool, and I really think that you're going to see major publishers using it as well. But they have money behind them to assure that it's going to work. Now, again, if you're a small creator, it's your first campaign, second, third, maybe fourth, I don't know, you are going to have to do whatever you can do to get funded, right? You work your butt off, whatever you got to do to get the book made. I get that. But at some point, as I'm looking at sustainability of the business model, I think it has to move into getting the book either completely or mostly produced ahead of time, so that you can, move forward. Anyway, so I'd love to know a little bit more about your thoughts behind this and how it works. Does ordering comics direct from a comic book producer make sense and seem like a sustainable model? Or do you see like a gap in the system? Do you see something else that needs to be added so that it can reach a wider audience or be a more reliable system? Anyway, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely see you around the internet.